All right, everyone. So Matt Hardy is back in the wrestling news. He was talking about AEW and some booking decisions. So we're going to read a long transcript here from the show Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. So here is what he said. So bear with us here because this is a long read. I feel like one of the issues in AEW, and I said this before on Busted Open earlier today, like when we first came in and first getting used to, we were in a good spot. It was very cool what we were doing. I liked what Tony was doing with us, and we were on the path to win the titles. And then Jeff got in trouble. Jeff messed up, and that was all on Jeff, and that was not on Tony. That was not on AEW. That was on Jeff, and it just is what it is. So I did my thing. Jeff went and got himself right. Whenever he came back, I figured, oh, we'll probably take a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, to prove himself because I knew where Jeff was here in his head. I knew what kind of positive headspace he was in and how good of a place he was in. I said it will probably take 2 or 3 months to like earn the trust back of these people, and then maybe we'll be off and running. But just after Jeff came back, we didn't win any tag matches for a year. It's crazy. We are the Hardys. We didn't win a tag match on TV in a year. And I mean, I brought this point up like, what are we doing? Like, we need just to give us a win. We don't need to be the champions. We don't need to be undefeated, but just like we need to win at some point, and it was just very frustrating. And whenever Jeff did a deal where he wrestled Darby because Sting got hurt and they switched it up and they made we were going to be teaming some more with Mark Briscoe, we're talking about doing 6 mans or tags, whatever. All these matches were on the table, and I just wanted a story more than anything else. I wanted to get into some sort of story that we could just sink our teeth into, that we could like take our characters and gravitate towards and really put in the work. We were up for turning heel. We were up for being, the larger than life tag team that almost buys into they're the greatest tag team of all time and almost like parody the stuff and do it so big and over the top that I think could even get over as baby faces, but we didn't end up doing that. We didn't get the full opportunity to follow through with that. And then Jeff started having singles matches, and after every singles match, he'd come up to me like, "Why am I doing singles matches? Why are we not teaming? We're like the Hardys, right? We're like the Hardy Boys. Like, why are we not a team? And why am I doing these singles?" So that was a long, long little transcript there. But man, it is a frustrating thing when you think about from the perspective of AEW and from the perspective of the Hardy Boys. On one hand, you understand from the perspective of AEW that, if Jeff gets in trouble, whatever it is, you can't just automatically throw him back into the main event scene because you're nervous. What if this happens again? Now a guy in the main event scene is no longer in there. It's a big mess, right? But on the other hand, you have to understand if you're AEW what you had. And we've talked about this in the past where I think it's very bad when, the AEWs of the world rely on WWE's former talent to kind of get over, right? Because the problem is if basically you're just viewed as, okay, WWE light, then you're not going to really build that hardcore fan base. With that being said, the Hardy Boys have been out of WWE. They've been all over the place. You could really use them to build something very big. And these last 2 paragraphs of the transcript we read, it just tells everything, right? And it speaks to something where somebody at AEW should have said, "Hey man, we have one of the best tag teams of all time. We have them on our roster, and we should utilize that." They could, you hear the Hardy Boys, people are tuning in. That's just the bottom line. You could pretend it's not the case. You could say, "Oh, they're older," whatever. If I hear the Hardy Boys are on TV, if the Hardy Boys return to WWE, that is going to be appointment viewing for me, right? Because I love the Hardy Boys. They've been one of the best tag teams of all time, and there's something from my childhood at least that I remember. I'm watching them, right? And so it would be frustrating, right? It would be frustrating if you're like, "Hey, we've lost every match for a year. Now we're doing all these singles matches. Just put us in the tag team division. We don't care if we win the titles or don't, but have us be that kind of heel tag team, right? That says we're the greatest of all time, or have us be so cocky, so cool that in the end we actually end up becoming baby faces." And so, look, I'm rooting for AW. We don't watch AW a ton, to be completely honest with you, but I'm rooting for it because I think wrestling is at its best when it has competition, right? And WWE is already kind of now buying into, TNA and all the other things with all these different agreements. So AEW is going to be the last thing really standing that's out, opposite of WWE, and I want to see it succeed. But you read stuff like this and you go, I mean, this is why, this is why maybe there's some struggles, right? Because when you have the talent, when you have the people there, you're just not doing enough to make them, you're just not doing enough to kind of get the most out of those characters, and it's frustrating for the talent and it's frustrating for the people watching. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next.